This little film is the first of my behind the scenes films of the 2019 Classic TT and Manx Grand Prix Festival, and I hope I shan't be too constrained by the note that you'll see passing across the screen at the moment. Anyway, having just arrived on the afternoon boat, I made my way up to the Paddock area and paid a brief visit to John Davis Motorsport Paddock. And the first bike we look at is number 9, which is Dominic Herbertson's Senior 500 Classic Honda. John seems quite concerned there, but a lot more cheerful in that picture. This is Dominic's smaller bike for the junior race, a 350 Honda. Another couple of the smaller Hondas. Bike number 2 is actually entered by John Chapman Racing, and number 13 is one of John's bikes that will be ridden by Lee Johnson. The John Chapman Racing concern entered 2 of the larger MVs, one to be written by Ian Locker and the other by Joey Thompson. Difficult to know which machine that was, but I do know that that one is a lightweight Yamaha to be ridden by Lee Johnson for Bunch Racing. And there's no doubt at all that that's Danny Webb's Senior Manx Norton being proudly displayed. The pit area is starting to fill up for the evening's practice, and we see a quartet of Hondas, junior Hondas. Alec Whitwell's there, number 28. Ewan Hamilton's, number 24. Dean Osborne's, number 33. And lastly, Richard Wilson's, number 20, Chris Hughes racing machine. Across the aisle we see an array of senior classic machines. James Hillier's number 5, his large Honda. Next to it is number 14, Bill Swallow's 500 Ducati. Then Derek Seals 500 Honda, the Greenhall racing machine, number 18. And next to that is number 11, Alan Oversby's machine. There were 3 Peytons in the Senior Classic race. Number 7 is Maria Costello's, and there's John McGuinness, number 1. Next to him, in fact across the way, is Michael Rutter's junior Honda, Ripley Land. And keeping an eye on proceedings, my dear wife. And there we have the Go Day Egley Vincent, run by Horst Sager. But sadly we no longer have Patrick Goday. Looking back up the line now, we get a quick look at Rod Hodgson's Senior Classic Honda, number 20, and then a more extended view of the pattern of Stefano Bonetti, number 22. John Barton's bike, number 40, has confused me before. It's probably a Sealy Matchless, the Sealy on the tank, and Matchless under the tank. And next to it is number 35, Dave Madsen-Mignall's Honda. This is Tom Whedon's 500 Norton, entered by Goatland Classics, and next to it is Ben Ray's 500 Honda. And at last, some Superbike Classic practice action. First we see Craig Neve, number 12, on his big Kawasaki, followed by Philip Crow on his 1100 Suzuki, and then number 10 is Connor Cubbins on his Paget's Yamaha, a new additional sponsor this year. The 750 Kawasaki's of Rob Hobson, number 18, and Derek Shields, number 15, are in fast pursuit. Number 2 is Steve Parsons' Junior Manx Grand Prix Kawasaki, and he's followed by number 9, Dave Johnson, on his classic Superbike. That also is a Kawasaki. Bike number 10 is Nathan Harrison's Junior Manx Grand Prix Suzuki GXR 600, and he's followed by Mark Colvin on a Senior Manx Grand Prix GXR 750. And then we have Damien Horan, number 18, and Daniel Ingham, number 106, and he's being chased by number 5, Royce Rowe, on his 675 Triumph Daytona. And bikes 12 and 9 are Daryl Tweed and Francesco Quiringo, both on Honda CBR 600s. Next away, numbers 3 and 21 of Andrew Farrell and Ryan Mayer on a Kawasaki and an R6 Yamaha respectively. Bike 24 is Ryan Neen on his 750 Kawasaki, and number 17 is Dave McConaughey's R6 Yamaha Manx Grand Prix Junior machine. Two more classic superbikes away now. Number 23, the A&C engineering machine, and number 43 is Alan Brodie on his 750cc Suzuki. Classic superbike number 35 is Josh Daly's 750 Yamaha, and he's followed by a classic lightweight machine ridden by Chris Moore, number 14. He's a regular at this event. 4 is Mike Booth on his classic superbike Kawasaki, and he's followed by number 48, Darren Cooper, on his classic superbike Yamaha. And then we see number 26, Gaz Evans on his Junior Manx Grand Prix bike, and Adrian Hartzog on his Senior Manx Grand Prix bike, number 123. And then we see Ian Locker on his classic TT lightweight. Ian is followed by the Junior Manx Grand Prix bikes of number 33, Grant Gaskell, and number 24, Dennis Booth. Phil Harvey, number 12, is Ian Locker's colleague in the Laylaw team, and he's followed by Leon Murphy, Junior Manx Grand Prix rider, number 25, and Daniel Fernandez, also in his Junior Manx Grand Prix Honda machine. And then we see Stu Hall on his Yamaha R6, number 49. Mike Minns, number 50, on his Honda is a previous Manx Grand Prix winner, and he's followed by the Cornish Stig Ross Orchard, number 46. And then we have number 41, Stuart McCann on his Triumph Daytona, and number 58, Paul Williams on his 750 Kawasaki Classic Superbike. Number 55 is Lee Hembury from Glastonbury in Somerset on his Manx Grand Prix Junior bike, and he's followed by Nick Southwood from New Zealand on his Suzuki, number 42. And number 5 is Bruce Anstey, making a welcome return to the Isle of Man after his illness problems on his lightweight classic Honda. And number 10 is Dan Sale, recovering too from his injuries in last year's racing on the John Chapman racing machine. Next up is the Manx Grand Prix Senior bike, number 171 of Steve Beale, an Isle of Man competitor. And he's followed by number 19, John Barton on his 750 Suzuki lightweight classic, and Jim Barnett, number 61, on his Manx Grand Prix Suzuki GSXR 600. Bike number 59 is the 750 Kawasaki of Adrian Harrison, classic Superbike machine, and he's followed by number 66, Peter Creer on his Manx Grand Prix Junior machine. He's from Onchan on the Isle of Man. And number 67, with his wheel off the floor, is Wayne Axon on his 1100 Suzuki Classic Superbike. And number 55 is Mark Herbertson on his 750 Kawasaki. Not to overlook the Junior Manx Grand Prix machines of number 60, Jason Heritage on his Yamaha, and number 54, Ray Maloney on his Honda 600. And Heffin Owens helmet graphics, number 31, leave us in no doubt of his Welsh heritage on his Ducati. Number 59, Paul Battersby, is not getting off, he's getting on his Manx Grand Prix Junior machine, followed by number 29, Stephen Howard, on his classic lightweight Yamaha. And number 25 is Carlson Svensson on his 250 Yamaha. And number 65 is Alec Whitwell on his 1100 Suzuki, and Steve Moody, number 74, on his big Honda, both classic Superbike machines. We mustn't miss number 68, Raymond Basomba from Spain on his Manx Grand Prix machine, and he's followed by number 64, Ben Shuttlewood on his Triumph Daytona 675. And there he is with his wheel off the floor. And he's followed by number 39, Samuel Grief on his 250 Honda lightweight classic machine, and Mark Parrott on his classic Superbike number 51. And then another classic lightweight machine, Christopher Dowling on his Yamaha 600. This is not Valentino Rossi, it's David Glover on his classic lightweight Yamaha. And he's followed by Will Loader, number 43, on his Yamaha. And then we have a Manx Grand Prix Junior machine, number 67, Richard Fuelmet from France. Apologies for the pronunciation. Number 35 is Richard Lambourne on his classic lightweight Yamaha. And he's followed by Gary Johnson, number 7, from Team York Suzuki, on his classic Superbike. Derek Shields, number 15, his Greenall racing machine. And then we have Horst Sager, number 1, on his Greenall racing machine. And then number 10, Nathan Harrison, Junior Manx Grand Prix Suzuki. Rider number 48 is Darren Cooper on his 750 Yamaha. He's starting his second lap. He's followed by number 24, Dennis Booth on his ZXR Kawasaki Junior Manx Grand Prix competitor. And number 56 is Darryl Tweed on the classic Superbike, the big Yamaha. Another Valentino Rossi, Andrew Farrell on his 750 Kawasaki. And then number 16 is Philip Crow, Team Classic Suzuki. And number 12 is Phil Harvey, going for a second time on his Laylaw Racing Yamaha. But number 50, Mike Minns, is pulling in after one lap on his Junior Manx Grand Prix Honda. Nick Southwood, number 42, still going on his GSXR 600. And David McConnelly, number 17, on his Yamaha. And number 33 is Dennis Booth on his Suzuki. Well, by turning round, I'm immediately in the pit lane, which is slightly less dramatic. And there's John McGuinness in deep conversation. I don't know what was said. And alongside him is Maria Costello in deep thought. And there's John Mack with Michael Rutter, who seem to have an excellent relationship. Well, this is what makes John McGuinness's Peyton go faster, and this is what makes it stop. Impressive, like a piece of artwork. And Mrs. McGuinness and Michael Rutter, and the owner of John's machine. And there he is again. This is Maria Costello's Peyton, number 7. And this is Fred Walmsley, the renowned engine tuner who looks after Michael Rutter's machine, amongst others. Michael Rutter and John McGuinness get ready for work, although I must admit to having mixed feelings about the graphics on John Mack's helmet. Make your own mind up. And there we are, side by side. And there's Maria on her Patton and Chris Swallow on the 500 Enfield. And that's Bill Swallow on his Ducati. And number 11 there is Alan Oversby on his Honda. Michael Russell, number 15 on his Ducati, is in the foreground, and I couldn't identify the other rider, unfortunately. Meredith Owen in the foreground on his senior machine, and Heffin in the background, number 14 on his junior bike. Rider number 38 there is Will Loader on his senior machine. And in the next image you'll see bike number 22, the Patton of Stefan Bonetti, being wheeled backwards, and in the foreground Keith Dixon's Sealy. And then we see the junior classic bikes of Richard Wilson, the 350 Honda, and number 22, Mark Perslow's similar machine. Unfortunately, neither Richard nor Mark got out to practice because the practice session was brought to a close because of an incident on the course. Well, considering the weather problems hitherto, I guess the organisers would consider Monday to have been a partial success. And we shall see what the rest of the week brings, particularly for the Davis Motorsport organisation, whose pit we're now looking at now. Lee Johnson's senior and junior bikes there, number 13 being attended to. And then across the way in the Paget's pits are bikes number 10, which is Connor Cummings' Superbike Yamaha, and alongside is Bruce Anstey's machine number 5, which we saw him riding last night in his practicing for the lightweight classic race. And wonderful it was to see him too. I haven't worked out the role of bike number 3, which has got the Lucky Strike graphics on it, but this is the Team Classic Suzuki pit, and they have got 3 riders. Number 16 is Philip Crow on the big Suzuki, number 17 is Danny Webb on the 500, and over on the right there is the bike which Michael Dunlop will ride, bike number 6.
Yeah, give me 2 minutes, mate.
Virtually next door is the John Chapman Racing pit, and these are from Ryan Neen's bike, which we shall see in a moment. And the 2 machines there are potentially Dominic Herbertson's 250 Hondas, although I think his racing number ultimately was number 15. And there's Ryan Neen's Honda, which we saw the graphics of a moment ago, and a closer view of the business end. The first machine that we see in the Ripley Land Classic Motorcycle Racing pit is Michael Rutter's number 4, his senior classic machine, which I guess would still be called a G50 matchless, although things have changed in the intervening 50 odd years, and alongside it, supervising the check of the front end, is Fred Walmsley, the tuner, who takes a special interest in what goes on this team's machines. The Team York Suzuki pit is the second pit that we've looked at, which is committed to that mark of motorcycle in the Superbike class. And this is bike number 13, which is Sam West's 1100. And just walking in front of it is Gary Johnson, who rides bike number 7, which will make an appearance in a second or two. A very noisy appearance, I must Next is the Laylaw Racing Pit, who are strong supporters of the lightweight classic class with their Yamaha. And Ian Locker and his lovely wife decide that it's their turn to join in the fun. And so there you have them in every conceivable guise. The bike in the background is number 2, Dean Harrison's Yamaha. And there it is, being attended to. And bike number 3 is Ian's bike, which he will calm down sufficiently, I guess, to ride. Team York Suzuki members and riders seem to have still much to discuss on their 2 machines. Sam West machine there and Gary Johnson leading the discussion. His bike is alongside number 7. Maria Costello is very fortunate with her Peyton in having an extremely attentive engineering team, and the bike is beautifully turned out as a demonstration of their care and attention. I guess the inside is as good as the outside. Certainly the results bear that out.
Ah ja, genau, ja, das ist. Goed niet correct. Hij is nu onderaf. 1,28. Ja, weet je.
The Obsession engineering banner tells us pretty much all we need to know. Their larger bikes are Kawasaki, and we see bike number 61, which is Eric Wilson's ZXR 750, and alongside it is David Houston's equivalent bike, bike number 31. Alistair Cowan Racing campaigned 2 Superbike Kawasaki's, number 23 and 25. Number 25 was ridden by Forrest Dunn, and here he is in a very relaxed frame of mind.
Chilled out, ready for action.
How did it go last night, or didn't you get out?
No, we got out. We got a lap and 3/4 in.
Oh, good.
Just a little fuel problem, but other than that, she was perfect. So looking forward to getting back out tonight.
It was a good night, wasn't it?
It was, it was a bit windy, but it was good. It was good to get out. So hopefully tonight now we'll get a good run at it again.
Well, after last year, which was so hit and miss, it was.
And same with the TT this year was a disaster as well. So.
Did you come to the TT as well?
Yeah. We had a good run at the TT this year. Became the fastest ever Irish person, so I was happy with that. And top 10 in the senior. So.
What do you do in Ireland? Do you do Armory and all of them? Or?
I have done all the national roads. This year I've kind of concentrated on short circuits and set back up to speed that way, and then just international roads as well. So. It's been a good year so far.
Well done, good lad.
Thanks very much. We'll keep it going.
And there's the bike in question. Two other bikes linked to the Alistair Cowan camp are Craig Neve's machine, bike number 12, also of course a Kawasaki, and number 9, David Johnson's equivalent bike. So they're a busy team. And here's a team that really is in the pink. The Egley Motorcycles team, who campaign a 500cc Vincent-based machine. Sometime after Vincent production ceased in 1955, Fritz Egley, the renowned Swiss engineer, took the design to the next level, still retaining the oil in the upper frame member and the suspended engine from that upper frame member, but updated front and rear suspension. And that is the format of the Egley which we now see. This is the Yamaha Binch Racing Pit, and we shall see 3 of their lightweight Yamaha machines entered in the lightweight Classic TT. Bike number 13 will be ridden by Lee Johnson. Bike number 8 next to it will be ridden by Jamie Coward, and in a moment we shall see bike number 7, which is Gary Vine's mount in the same race. The team is obviously very fortunate in being able to double up all the hardware, as you will have noticed. The novelty of the rotary Norton engine never ceases to amaze. Bike number 37 will be ridden by Richard Wilson, and their other mount will be ridden by Gary Vines, number 44. I noticed from the programme that it's classified as 588cc. It's a brave man that determines the capacity of that unique engine.
Bless you. No, I love you lot.
I'll zoom out.
Did you get that one sorted out? I don't know, you reckon?
Oh no, he's just twiddling me.
Oh, was you?
The small overall size of the engine is apparent there from that complete engine unit in the foreground.
So fascinating now. They really are fascinating, aren't they?
They are. Totally different.
I don't know how you do it. I don't really. And I know you lost Rachel the other day.
Both the Craven Manx Norton on the stand and the Aermacchi Harley Davidson in the background are equally significant machines. I remember seeing the Aermacchis race in the very early 60s TT, not long after Harley Davidson had taken a stake in the company. I don't think the Aermacchi was competing. I think it was probably parading later on in the festival.
Work out who's who.
Put the wrong on him. We're still trying them at short circuit.
Yeah, we're still sat on the fence.
We don't know.
I've got the front one.
We're now in the Greenhall Racing tent, and their 3 bikes are the number 18, the Kawasaki of Rod Hodgson. They're all Superbikes, of course. And then Horst Taker's bike, number 1, and the one at the end, number 15, is Derek Shields. They're all 750 Kawasaki's. Horst was the unlucky one of the trio when it came to the race proper. The Mistral Racing header board there spells out their rider details. Number 3 is Paul Jordan and number 11 Michael Sweeney, and there's Michael's bike. They're 750 Kawasaki's, and obviously they're operating too in the classic Superbike race.
Yep. The other one's Paul's, yeah?
Yeah.
And there's number 3, Paul Jordan's machine. A closer look at the engine and the visual quality of the preparation. We're now in and around the Kraus Prez Racing Pit, and bike number 8 there is Jamie Coward's Kawasaki ZXR 750, which seems to be a popular superbike. The record speaks for itself, I guess. We are now in the very impressive headquarters tent of Team Windfield, which is John Mack's team, and that was his pattern there, number 1, the Senior Classic machine. And there we have John Barton's Ducati 888, number 29. And behind that, the yellow machine is Michael Rutter's Yamaha FJ 1200. And there's a slightly different view of John's machine. It was a well supported and well equipped team, quite obviously. There was a backup machine there for Michael Rutter. And there's the team owner on the left. And their subsequent results spoke for themselves. And now the other end of the spectrum, as we are able to look at a few Manx Grand Prix bikes. Number 23 is the Manx Grand Prix Senior of Adrian Hartog. And number 64 is Alex Sinclair's ultra lightweight Yamaha. And then we see Stuart McCann's Triumph Daytona 675. I think we took photographs of that last night. And number 42 is Nick Southwood from New Zealand, his Suzuki. And this is the irrepressible Ross Orchard from Cornwall, the Cornish Stig, with his Junior Manx Grand Prix machine and his David Jeffries tribute colours.
Matching crush on it as well.
Back now to the Junior Classic TT with Mark Perslow's 350cc Honda, number 22 there. I think we saw him at last night's practice, and he's obviously expecting greater things this evening.
Attention Paddock, this is a further call for the owners of
Mike Booth keeps up the Kawasaki tradition for his classic Superbike entry, number 34.
Please don't leave it to the last minute to get to your vantage point. Give yourselves plenty of time to get to where you want to watch tonight's practice. But as I said earlier, the most important thing is we need the end of pit lane clear before the roads close so we can start the practice at 6:20. Thank you. Control out.
And bike number 59 is Adrian Harrison's entry in the same race.
I just make these little films and put them on YouTube. I'm not competing with green light television.
My wife is a little like Alfred Hitchcock, turning up in the background of scenes in his films.
Precludes anybody else.
Yeah.
Fair enough. They're putting the money in.
Yep.
Goatland Garage achieved notoriety by being the location for the garage in the TV series Heartbeat. They're expecting rather more notoriety from Tom Wheaton on his Senior Classic Norton. A diverse variety of bikes in the VRS racing pit. Bike number 69 is Pete Murray's Manx Grand Prix Junior machine, Honda CBR 600.
Thank you.
And bike 66 is Pete Murray's classic Superbike, the Kawasaki 750. And the bike alongside is Jamie Hamilton's Honda. Jamie, of course, is still injured after his TT accident some 4 years ago and was not competing. But the dog was making sure that nobody else interfered either. Tuesday evening's practice proved to be an absolute non-event, but we were able to look at some of the senior classic TT bikes, and we're familiar by now with John McGuinness's beautiful pattern, and next to it is Ian Locker surveying his 500 MV. It would be good to hear that running. Number 11 is Alan Oversby's large Honda, and next to that is Bill Swallow's Ducati. Bill is a very much a hands-on rider, always fiddling with his machines. Number 12 is Danny Webb's Manx from Denell Racing. And these are 3 pictures of James Hillier's 500 Honda. And one is the view given to the following rider, I guess. I thought too that you might be interested in a view of Mike Halewood's machine in May 1961 at Cassacoombe from a similar angle, and a photo of the complete machine with Stan Halewood's famous white Jag in the background. Bit of history. History recreated now. Chris McGann's 500 Honda, Maria's Peyton that we've looked at previously, Michael Rutter with his matchless, looking very relaxed. And this may well be an example of mutual aid, looking at John's bike. And then it became quite obvious that the practice really wasn't going anywhere. Everybody was well wrapped up against the elements, and Milky Quail finally signalled the fact that there would be no practice. And there he is. And John Mack gave his views to the Manx radio commentator. All very disappointing, albeit very good-natured too. And that brought Tuesday evening's event to a close. And if you would like to sell your bike through Charterhouse, come again next year. So we're in the paddock again on Thursday morning. And we shall start at John Davis's Davis Motorsport pit. John kindly looks after some of my equipment, which is always a help. And there we see Dominic Herbertson's junior bike, number 9, and his senior classic bike, both of course Hondas. And John, ever watchful, arrives to check up on the situation. The 2 machines at the end, numbers 13, are the junior and senior Hondas, which will be ridden by Lee Johnson, who was very successful last year. And in the Team Classic Suzuki pit, we find the 3 active Superbikes. Number 17 is Danny Webb's, number 16 is Philip Crow's, and number 6 is the bike which will be ridden by Michael Dunlop. We are spoilt for choice in the John Chapman Racing pit, where we see the first machine nearest to us, number 18, is Dan Sale's junior Honda. And the bike up on the ramp, number 11, is Ryan Neen's classic lightweight Honda. And that MV, I think, is not, because Ian Locker's nominated machine is bike number 3 up there on the stand, the 3-cylinder MV.
He knows what he's doing when he comes to one. I haven't seen David
better spirits yesterday. Much better than spirits. Got to know more about the bikes.
Bike number 15 next to the MV is Michael Sweeney's lightweight machine. A closer view there of bike number 11, Ryan Nean's classic lightweight Honda, and a closer view too of a very good-natured Dominic Herbertson enjoying a joke. Dan Sale's Junior Honda in close-up too. As I think I've said before, Dan Sale is still very much recovering from the nasty accident that he had at last year's event, and we wish him well this year. Maybe Dominic Herbertson was getting excited about his machine, because here is his classic lightweight Honda number 23. Familiar faces now in the Ripley Land Racing pit as they attend to a jig containing what looks very much like a rear suspension unit. Dangerous things if those springs fly around the workshop.
They won't set it up. No, that's right. They want 1.4s. He never complained about the. No, it's got about it. He never complained about back end yesterday.
On the ramp there, machine number 4 is Michael Rutter's Junior Honda, 350 Honda, and alongside it is on the floor is his senior machine, the 500 Matchless with the yellow plate. And I suspect the machine that we're about to see is not a classic TT entrant, but will be used in one of the parades. It's Fred Walmsley's Matchless number 6. Very familiar engine format. And in the Team York Suzuki pit, it's time to make sure that this particular bike is properly dressed and its fairing is safely attached. Paddock pit, see James Warr's machine, which is an 888cc Ducati, receiving attention, and I think that's probably his backup machine in the background. In the Obsession Engineering pit, things are much, I think, as we saw previously. The two machines, classic Superbike machines, number 31 Dave Hewson and number 61 Eric Wilson, both of them, of course, Kawasaki 750s. And there is their lightweight machine in the background, number 26, which is a Yamaha TZ 250. I've got a pal with one of those. Here we see the 750 Suzuki Superbike with A&C Racing graphics, which is actually bike number 53 to be ridden by Tom Whedon.
Let's face it, people like to see themselves on a bit of film, don't they?
They do, yeah. Part of the fun of the process.
It is.
You know, it's dedication to most of God's right here, you know. And there's of course, and you pump your own money into it.
Yes, of course.
And if you didn't love the sport, you wouldn't do it. But sometimes you wonder why you do it.
We're back again briefly in the John Chapman Racing pit, and my silence on any matters technical is an indication that I still haven't identified who the rider is of this bike bearing the graphic number 7 on the tail there. It's clearly a lightweight machine and it's clearly a Honda, but beyond that I can add no details. But I do recognise Dan Sale standing in the middle there alongside his lightweight machine. As I said earlier, he's still recovering from last year's injury problems. The board outside the Alistair Cowan Racing pit tells us all we need to know. The names of their 3 key riders, all on superbikes: Dave Johnson, Craig Neve and Forrest Dunn. They're riding 750 Kawasaki's, but unfortunately all 3 bikes are in various stages of undress and therefore difficult to identify. However, amongst all this busyness, you should be able to spot Craig Neve's bike number 12 and bike number 25, Forrest Dunn's Kawasaki. Without getting too far ahead of myself in the programme, I think it's fair to say that Dave Johnson, number 9, actually won the Classic Superbike race. Craig Neve, number 12, was 9th, and Forrest Dunn finished a very creditable 17th out of the 32 finishers. Back again to the Egley Motorcycles pit, and here again the bike is still in a state of undress, but at least it allows you to see the frame layout, which I was at pains to explain in my accountant's terminology last time we paid them a visit. I love those graphics on the wall there of bike 29. This is the Whiz Norton pit, and bike number 37 is Richard Wilson's Rotary Norton, which I talked about last time we were here. And the other machine on the other stand is bike number 28, which is his 500 Honda, which he will campaign in the Senior Classic race. And there it is. Bike number 44 is the second of the two rotary Norton machines. This will be campaigned by Gary Vines. A chance now to look again at Jamie Cloward's junior and senior classic Nortons, the 350 and the 500, and in the background there is the Aermacchi Harley Davidson, which we looked at briefly previously, and now we get the chance to have another look, a close-up look at that remarkable machine. I think this will be paraded later in the festival.
Your tap's off. Yeah. Well. Leave it.
In the Mistral Racing pit, we are able to see both of the team's Kawasaki Superbikes. Michael Sweeney's bike number 11, and in a moment or two Paul Jordan's bike number 3. Out in the damp open air we find Dave Madsen-Migdal offering assistance on bike number 33, which is the 350 Junior Classic Honda to be campaigned by Dean Osborne. Dave, I think, is credited with the largest number of starts of races on the mountain circuit. He is a Manx man, but nevertheless that's a It's a little bit quieter in the Team Windfield tent, although not too far away, where we find again, of course, John Max Patton. It's glorious, isn't it?
Well, I've got to recheck your once it's been started, so you need to check something then? Yeah, that clearance for me.
And we've looked at Michael Rutter's Yamaha previously, the FJ 1200 Superbike, but we're able to see it in some detail now before the fairings are refitted.
Have you heard? Didn't hear it, but I felt it.
Morning, all right?
All right, how you doing?
Yeah, not bad. Not bad. So they've cancelled this afternoon session.
So it was cancelled.
Yeah. Suppose they start running just like that.
Bike number 29 is something of a contrast to the pattern, but it's John Barton's 888 Ducati Classic Superbike at rest. Because I don't understand the technology, I have to refer to what this young man is doing as electronic wizardry, data gathering on a motorcycle.
I have to do this, freaking clipping these things, because I've got these butt connectors and they're just crimped and they're unreliable as hell.
Are they?
So what I've been doing is kind of shaving them down basically, and then I'll just heat shrink around everything, so the heat shrink takes the actual like mechanical stresses on the cable so they don't pull out.
Yeah.
I was trying to solder stuff yesterday. They take the piss out of me for saying solder. But we ended up, the torch we have is just awful. It doesn't work. Okay. Have to work up the nerve to actually cut these cables, because then if I don't do it right, then it's actually broken. But here goes. Yellow glow. Yes.
This is actually the storage unit in which all the data is gathered and which can be downloaded to a PC or some such subsequently. This commodious pit is not one that we've looked at previously. The first bike we see is bike number 20, which is a Superbike, classic Superbike Kawasaki, to be ridden by Julian Trummer. And then the two other bikes, numbered 62 and 69 respectively, are Manx Grand Prix machines to be ridden by an Austrian gentleman called Sebastian Witt, or Witt. 62 is the Manx Grand Prix Junior machine, a Honda CBR 600, and number 69 is the ultra lightweight Kramer motorcycle, which is the one in the distance there. Interesting. It's been a long journey, but I'll finish this little film in the Davis Motorsport pit in the ever helpful hands of Mr. John Davis, who puts up with me leaving my bits and pieces under his care. And we see first of all bike number 13, which is Lee Johnston's classic junior machine. They're always beautifully presented, John Davis's machines. He takes great pride in the corporate image of the team, I think, too. Bike number 9 is Dominic Herbertson's senior classic Honda, and in a moment or two The second number 9 with the blue plate will be Dominic's Junior Classic Honda, the 350 machine. And we'll leave these bikes to see us out in a silent tribute which will follow. During the first lap of the Senior Classic race on August the 24th, Chris Swallow was fatally injured. Rest in peace, Chris.